In today's tutorial, let's work on a vest, and this is for 2-year-old toddler boys all the way to men's 5 extra large. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on this V-neck vest. It comes in many sizes. We are starting with the boys toddler size all the way to ages of 10. And then this pattern here, which is the adult version, starts in the very next size, which is extra small, all the way to 5 extra large. In construction and the way that this is done is absolutely identical to each other. I'm going to be teaching the extra small version in the adult size in today's tutorial, but all you have to do is just substitute the information. How do you substitute? That's next. So Yarnspirations does a great job in being able to help us substitute information, and you're going to notice that you're going to see sizes, and you'll notice that there's colors associated to each of these sizes. It's in both of these patterns here. So when we have information on the pattern that is relevant to having to make a decision, then you're going to notice that is going to appear here. So you're going to notice it says fit chest, and you see the colors are matching. So exactly what you see here, okay, is matching to this chest size and to the finished chest here, and you will see it matches over here. But what exactly does it mean? Let me show you. So here's a closer look. Whenever a decision needs to be made or something needs to be following a specific pattern that is matching a certain size. So this is the child size that we're looking at right now. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So the first number is the smallest size. The next number is the next size, and so on. So whenever you have to make a decision, then this will show. So if there is no decision to be made when it gives you a set of instructions, it's the same for all sizes. So right at this point it says chain 8, which will give you then the 2-year-old size, and then if you were doing the next one it would be 4, and then 6, 8, and 10. So you see that they're slightly different from each other. So whenever you're doing these kind of patterns, it actually just look for those numbers. And what I like to do for myself when I go to do something like this is that I grab a highlighter and I highlight the number that I want, because sometimes it's easy to get lost in a pattern. Now in both patterns there is 5 different sizes. So this is still looking at the child size here. So whenever you see that there's brackets like this with the numbers, that indicates the same information that I was just sharing. So the first number is 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. And so if you separated that out from this pattern would not be so long, because essentially there's taking up a lot more room in the space. So let's just say we're skipping the first 4. That's for the 2-year-old, and then so on and so on. Do you see that? So when you have to follow these instructions, you just have to look for that. So for example, in the second row here there is no bracket information, so that means that all of them are exactly the same in this particular row and this row, and then it says repeat the last 2 rows, and you see it appears here again. So the 2-year-old size would repeat only once, and the next sizes would repeat 2 times. So just look for that. It just makes it a lot more sense. So let's move over to the adult size version, because that's what I'm going to be doing on camera today. So here I'm looking at the adult size version, and both of the versions have the shape of the vest here in a diagram format. Now it has the information that you have, and there's a lot of information here, but remember what I said is that whenever you see a group here like this, so let me just circle it like this, this is all a set of instructions that relay from this point to this point in the size. So in extra small this will be 8 inches tall, and then the next size up will be that, and so on and so on. So you'll see it along the bottom as well. So for the extra small it'll be 18 inches across, the next sizes, and etc. So this gives you a really good indication on what you need to do. So the construction is very similar to what we have to do even in the child size, and I'm going to give you some tips in order to speed yourself up in this particular project as well. So for myself, the front and the back are very similar up until you get to this line here. So we're going to start both of the ribs here, okay, and this is part of this. So it's just a 1 unit. So you can do the front and the back the same up until this point, and then you can deviate. Now you'll see that the back still comes in like this, but it's solid along the back all the way to the top, and then in the front it is similar to this, but then it starts to branch off to give you the V-neck shape. So it's really quite an easy thing to do. So for myself, what I did is that I did the rib first like this, and you need multiple balls of yarn anyway. This is what my train of thought was, and so I did the rib all the way across. the next part joins onto that rib then working up. So I did both ribs at the same time using 2 different yarn balls so that I didn't have to fasten off. I then did the front and the back all the way to this point here, and then I'm going to then take you further. So when I give you a set of instructions, this is what you can do, and you can get both at the same time, and I will show that to you in just a moment. So as I just mentioned, what I did is that I did the rib, and so the rib is going back and forth all the way to the end, and I got it to my inches that I needed, and I believe it was 18 inches that I needed to go. And then what I did is that I put this aside, and I have the yarn, and I just put it aside, and I grabbed up the next one, next yarn ball, and I did the next rib for this one. So I had both ribs actually done, and then I moved up. So what I've got now is that I've got 2 different yarn balls on the go at this time. One is going to each one of the panels, and so it just makes it easier for me to remember the pattern and a lot more simpler. And what I wanted to do is that the dimension to get to the top of where the armhole starts is the same on both panels. So I did one panel all the way to the top, and then I put it aside, and then I did the next one all the way to the top. And so I wanted to make sure that I finished off on the same side, and when I overlaid them they are the exact same size, just like that. So I've also marked on here the front side of the project, which I will get to in today's tutorial as well, and it's really not a hard pattern in order to follow, and at the end all I'm just going to do is sew up through the side anyway. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to get you started to show you how to do the ribs area here, and then I'm going to show you how to do this stitch here, and then I'm going to leave it for you to get yourself up here where we're going to start doing the armholes. And what we're going to do then is just show you how to read that on the pattern, which is coming up next. So I realized by reading ahead that I could see that there is a repeat going on in this side. So we start off with the back panel, and it says chain 10, and we do the ribbing and etc. And then I got myself all the way to where I needed to go. So I did the first extra small, so I went to 18 inches. So if you have other sizes, you have to go to these dimensions here. And then it says do not turn at the end, and then work 59 single crochets across the top edge, and then of course it has different measurements for, or different single crochets for the other sizes. And then it says proceed as follows. So I did both of the ribbings at the same time, and then I finished off, and then I moved on here. So it says here in the front over here, it says repeat from double asterisk to double asterisk. So I looked for the double asterisk over here and over here, and I realized that the front is actually only from here to here. So right now both of the panels that I have currently that I just showed you are ending right here, because what I'm going to do is that both of them still have to have the starting shape of the armholes, and then from here one takes a detour. So right here, if you're doing the back, you're just going to continue along here like this, okay, and then continue to shape the shoulders then here, and then once you get to this point here for the front is that you'll jump over here, and then you'll start working down this particular column here. So it's just an easier way to look at it from this perspective, and so I like to make it a lot easier for myself. Instead of doing one whole complete panel, I like to work like an assembly line, so I don't have to read the instructions as much. So let me get you started on doing the ribbing first. So using a 5mm size H hook, and I'm using Caron Simply Soft today, I'm going to be starting the ribbing. Now it doesn't matter which size that you're working on, the ribbing, just look at the particular pattern, and all of them in the adult size start with chaining of 10. In the child size it starts with chaining of 8. I'm gonna have you look at those instructions and substitute that information going forward. So just to start off with the slip knot, and I'm doing the extra small in adults, and it says to chain 10. So I'm just gonna chain, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And if you're thinking, wow, that's a really large ribbing, it's gonna compress, so don't worry about that. So going second chain from the hook, so count back, so 1 and 2, and come in second chain going into the back hump only. I want you to single crochet yourself back across your chain. You'll notice that I'm not counting. I don't need to. I can see my stitches, but if you went second chain from the hook and you originally started off with chain 10, you end up with 9 single crochets in the end, and that'll be the magic number then going forward for the rest of the ribbing going all the way across. So what we're gonna do is that it causes a ribbing effect to happen, and that's gonna be caused in the next row, which is gonna be continuously repeated then until you get to the set dimensions for it. So in the extra small I had to go a total of 18 inches. It did not take me long to do an 18 inches in this. So what I'd like to do is that I'd like to go in the next row. So you're gonna repeat this next row over and over and over until you get to your dimension. So usually what we do is that we turn and go like this, but it's harder to see that back loop only. We're only gonna go into back loops. So to get it started, what I like to do is just look at it from this perspective. I'm sitting right here behind you, and what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna chain up one and I'm gonna dive into the back loop only of the stitch. So if you're new to crochet, there's two loops together, they say a stitch. If you go in the front loop, okay, that's the front, and if you go in the back one, it's the back loop. So going into the back loop only, single crochet across. Once I get the first one in, the rest are easy to see. It's just that first one's kind of tough to see right off the bat, so I don't turn it all the way around until I get to the second stitch. And so you're just gonna work back and forth doing back loop single crochets all the way until you get to the dimensions that you have. So I'm just gonna review how to turn again, and then I'm gonna leave the rest for you. I'm gonna do a smaller swatch sample in order to show you the next stitch above because I've already done it. And don't forget, you have to go into that final stitch, and if you're ever confused, you should have 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So if you thought there might have been one more, you could have. You might accidentally put an extra. So to turn your work again, so just chain up one and dive into that back loop only. Then you can start turning it in order to work your way down. So please continue that to the assigned dimension that is in the pattern, and I will meet you back here. I just have to go a few more inches in order to show you the next step in order to do this stitch work all the way to the top of the vest, and then we're gonna pick up the vest from that point and then move on in today's pattern. So for myself, I'm gonna stop here because I can show you what the next part of the pattern looks like just for this small swatch, so you'll have it complete to a entire band. You're not gonna fasten off, and what I would recommend is doing both of these at the same time, because they both have to be the same dimension before moving on to the next part of this project. Let me bring my sample and show you what's next. So once you get your entire band done, the next part of the panel is directly right attached to this, and what we're gonna do is that when we're done this particular one is that we're just going to start our single crochets along the top, and we have to get so many dimensions of so many single crochets across the top, and that's indicated on the pattern. In my case, extra small, there's 59 stitches all the way across the top. Do you see how it's kind of buckling like this? This is that stretch of this to allow it to shape to your body when you're wearing it properly. So this is a kind of a neat idea. So what I need you to do is get both of these ribs done, and now I'm gonna show you what to do then to start this, and then I'm gonna show you the 2 rows that exist all the way then to the bottom of the armholes. So once your ribbing band is all the way done and you got it to the dimension, when you go to lay it down, don't overstretch it like this to cause it to be malformed, but you don't have it buckling like this. Just have it nicely just kind of laying out and grabbing your tape measure and just measure it. So what you have to do then to move along the top then to the next section of this is that we have to turn it on its side. So this is where I kind of finished like so, and so I'm gonna work my way across the top right here. So in order to do that, I have to chain 1, and I have to single crochet the number of stitches that it tells you. In my case it was 59. So in this small swatch you have to have an odd number. So if you look at all the numbers that what it tells you to do to go across the top of this, it was either 59, 65, 71, 79, 89, or 101. They're all odd numbers. That's what you need to look for. So in this case I'm just gonna say it's an odd number just because it's a small swatch, but you can follow those dimensions that are provided in the pattern. So I'm just gonna make sure it is an odd number, so I'm just gonna count. So 1, and I'm just going in the side of the stitch, okay, and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and I need an odd number, so I'm just gonna go for 9. So you have to, sometimes you have to put in extra stitches in order to get it to the dimension that it's asking, or the number of stitch counts, or sometimes you have to skip over a section and just do it. I had to do it on mine because I got near to the end and I realized that I was not gonna hit the end if I kept going in the same increments. So I jumped over a little bit of extra. You really cannot tell, so you have to use your own creativity with that. So that is row number 1, and now we're gonna repeat rows 2 and 3 over and over until we get to the bottom of the armhole. So let's start on row number 2. We're gonna start off by chaining a 3. 1, 2 and 3, and that counts as a double crochet. So the way that it's easier to do on this particular pattern, we have to then continue. So we have to go 1 single crochet into the next one, and the next one we have to do a double crochet, and you continue to do that back and forth. So it's a double and now single and then double and single, and you'll keep doing that all the way down to the end of the row. So in the end of the row, as we approach it, then we're just continuing along, and we have to finish off with the double crochet right into the very end, just like that. So we started off with a double and we finish off with the double on this side. You always have to do that. So let's turn our work and move on. So row number 3 is always gonna be the same. Chain up 1. So because there was a double crochet down here, there's next one above it will be always a single. So, and you can see the difference between the 2 stitches for yourself. One looks like it's more like a lot going on to it. The other one looks a lot more empty. So when it looks a lot more empty, that's a single, and when there's a lot more to it, it's a double. So we started off here and we chained up 1, so we're gonna do a single crochet right into the top of the first double, and so then we continue our trend. So the next one is gonna be a double, and the next one is a single, and a double, and single, and double, and single, and double, and always the very last one on row number 3 will be a single into the turning chain, just like that. So let's just turn our work and repeat rows 2 and 3 one more time together. So we're gonna turn our work, and so row number 2 we chained up 1 and 1, 2 and 3. So they're gonna start off with the double. The next one is gonna be a single. Okay, so it's gonna be double and single and double and single and double and single, and row number 2 will always finish off with the double, just like that. Now let's turn our work again and go for row number 3. So turning our work, we chain up 1. Because there's a double already in the one below, this one has to be a single, and then the next one is then a double. So you see that they're kind of shifting in between each other to make this really kind of a compressed looking stitch, but also giving texture at the same time. So I've actually gotten used to doing this pattern as far as like switching between single and double without a lot of thought to it. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I'm not gonna deny that, but once you get it into your head, it actually works out pretty good. So now what I need you to do on the pattern is that you need to keep repeating this until you get to a certain height, which includes the bottom edge here. Okay, so it says you need to continue this pattern now, and in the extra small size it was 15 inches. So it's 15 right from this bottom edge all the way to the bottom of the armhole where we're gonna start that. And I'm gonna have you continue to do that until you get to that dimension. Now the other sizes are there, including the child size of what that dimension is, and if you're ever confused, go and look at the diagram that is on the back page, and that will show you the dimension as well that you need to get to. So in the next part of this tutorial, I want you to do this panel all the way from the ribbing to this to the dimension of the height for both of the panels because they're both identical. And now I'm gonna show you how to shape the armholes, which you'll have to do on both, and then I'm going to take you then through the remaining of the back, and then we're gonna move to the front of the panel. So at this time your panel should be done all the way to the bottom of the armhole. In my case it was 15 inches from here all the way to up here. And so now I'm ready to go, and I did both of the panels exactly identical, laid them over top of each other so I know that they're exactly the same size, and I also counted the amount of rows to make sense of it. So now we're gonna start shaping the armholes in order to make this work, and what we have to do then is that we have to fasten off the other yarn. I hadn't done that yet. I wanted to wait to show you. So once you get to the bottom of the armhole, we're gonna then finish off this yarn, and we're going to fasten it off, and we're gonna restart on this project, but keep in mind that you need to look for other things that are involved. So let's begin to do that. So just snip your scissors and just fasten off, and you can use a darning needle if you wish in order to hide that in, and I would probably highly recommend it anyway because you're gonna be wearing it. If you are not, somebody else may be. And just use a darning needle and just lightly glide it through the top of the stitch area like so. I almost stabbed myself there. It's good to have a really sharp darning needle, except for if it's gonna go into your finger. Not a good idea. Okay, so go back and forth 3 times just like so, and now that will never fall out on you, and I never impeded with the edge, so it looks the same. I want to do that with both of the panels as well. Now both panels, it's now secured into position, and now I'm just going to put that one aside and I'll work on that one later, and then I'm gonna move on to the next one. So let's begin to do the armhole. I'm gonna start off with a slip knot on my hook first. Just put it aside and let's talk about the instructions. So if you notice in the pattern, it looks like there's a jet in, and there is truly a jet in from the outside. So we're not gonna start, we fastened off so that we don't start on an edge that we're already coming with someone in, and when you go to do the armband that comes around, it'll be sitting into this position here. So it says skip the first 4, and you'll notice that there's other dimensions there for the other sizes, and so I'm just gonna look at it. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I go to the 5th. I notice that it's a double crochet right underneath. So what I want to do is when I go to fasten on, I want to just do what is opposite. So see how I've stopped here. So when I was finished off, I was here, okay, and I turned it. So this is continuing then on the other side so that I don't mess up the pattern in any way. So you have to just keep that in mind. So I'm just gonna join it here, and what I want to do is that I want to chain 1 and 1 single crochet into the first. Now it says for me, for the back end here, is that I have to continue the pattern across. So I'm going this single double, and I need to count out a total of 50 stitches that I need to do. So I'm gonna have to do that all the way across. You'll see that there's other dimensions for the other sizes. So just continuing to carry along as you normally did, but because you're only doing 50, you're not gonna go right to the edge. Over here you're gonna stop earlier, because that's what's gonna happen in order to keep it in balance on this side. So please do that and get over there, and I'll see you there in just a moment. So I came up all the way to the other side, and what I want you to notice is that I put a string in here. You have to leave 4 empty stitches at the end, and when you counted over 50 you had 4 empty stitches anyway, but I just put a strand in there just so that I would be more confident in my own abilities. So what we're gonna do is next row is that we're gonna turn our work, and we're going to do this just one time only for the front panel, but for the back we have to do it a total of 3. So right now what I want you to do is that we're gonna do some together work. So we're gonna make stitches decrease. So we're just gonna chain up 1, and we're gonna put the 2 first ones together. So we're just gonna go in and pull together, so in, and then go to the next one, pull in like this. It's 2 together, and then pull through all 3 loops. Now you continue the pattern as is. So there's a double here, and I'm gonna go single. So what I want to do is that I want you to just go all the way back to the other side, and at the very last 2 stitches I want to put those together just like I just did, and you're eliminating a stitch out to create a nice kind of indentation that is more fluent with your body. So I'll meet you on the other side. So when you get close to the end on the other side, the last 2 stitches are gonna come together, and you are going to do the single crochet 2 together. So just going in and in and pull through, and that just became together. So for this particular back panel here, I have to repeat that row again 3 more times for the extra small, and then you see that there's other repeats then for the other sizes. So you can follow that on the instructions. So to do this again, then if we're doing a repeat, is that you start off and you just chain up 1, going into the first one and the next one, put them together, and then just look for what's in the next stitch. So this is a single underneath, I can tell that, and I'm gonna just go across in the same pattern, and then the last 2 would then become 2 together. Please repeat this row the number of times that it says on the pattern, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. So now I have repeated that decreasing row a total of an extra 3 times as per the pattern. You will have, if you're doing other sizes, you'll have other repeats. So you see that it kind of rounds up here, and now we need to go to a certain height now. So for my size, I need to go from 8 inches now from the bottom of here to the top of this. So all I'm just gonna do now is just go back and forth, continuing the same pattern just like we had before, so it keeps it nice and consistent. And when I get to 8 inches here, then I'm gonna stop, but I'm not quite done the back panel. I still have a little bit of shoulder work to do, which is not a deal breaker. It's actually quite easy to do. And then all I just need you to do is just go back and forth just to go straight up to get to the size. So you're either gonna go 8 inches, 8.5, 9, 9, 9.5, or 10, depending on the size that you're working on. I'll see you back here when I get that done. Okay, so now I'm back and I have my 8 inches tall here. This is the bottom of the armhole here. It's obviously the same on the other side. So what I want to do now is to continue along, and we still have to shape the shoulder on the back panel, and we need to fasten this off first. The reason why we're fastening off, it's very similar to what we did over here. We need to jump and start at a different spot. So what I want to do then is just take my time just weaving my ends, and I want to turn my project around and start again on this side. So I can trap in my stitch work just by weaving these in, but if you feel more comfortable, you can use a darning needle if you wish as well. So I need to get it over to a minimum of 10 stitches across. And how do I know that? It says and this is 10 for my particular size that I'm working on here, is that we're gonna have to skip so many stitches, and because we're skipping so many stitches I have to go in a little bit further so that I can trap that into position as well. So now I want to turn this around, and I want to start the next section of this shoulder, and then we'll move on. To do the next section, we actually have to do a total of 2 rows. So what we have to do is that we have to go across, fasten off, turn our work, and then start again and at a different spot. So what we have to do here at the top is that I have to skip a total of 6 stitches, and that's for all of the sizes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Go to the 7th, and that's where I want to join on my new yarn. Just gonna create a slip knot first, and I'm gonna continue the pattern as usual. So right now what I've done is that I've just joined on to where it shows as, let me take a quick look here. This is a double crochet where I am, so I'm just going to chain 1 and 1 single crochet into the same one, and I'm gonna continue the same pattern across. So what I want to do on this side here is that I want to stop 6 stitches short. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna count from the other side and stop, and then fasten off. That's what I'm gonna do. Please do that same thing. So I'm now on the other side and I'm finishing. So that's it. So what I want to do then is that I want to stop here, and I want to fasten off, weave in my end again, and I want to start then the final row of the back. If you noticed on the diagram as I'm weaving this in, if you noticed on the diagram, you'll notice that it looks like that the top of the vest was arching. It had like a curve to it. This is what this is looking at when you're looking at it from a greater perspective. So I'm just weaving these in, and I want to turn my work again, and I want to join on. So let's turn it, and to join it once again is that the next row we have to skip the first 5. So grabbing the same yarn in is that we just look at the stitches. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip the first 5, and join on your yarn again, and follow the pattern as is, and you want to go across until you leave 5 stitches unused on the other side. So right where I just did a join is a double crochet, so chain up 1 and single into that one. So continue the pattern as is. It's important that you're able to identify your stitches. It really makes it a lot easier in your life. Okay, and just continue along, and when I get close to the other side I just kinda look and just count 5 back from the edge, and that's where I'm gonna stop when I get over there. So I'll see you there in just a moment. So I'm on the other side now. I left 5 empty on the other side. That's it. We're done the back panel. So I'm just gonna weave in my ends. I'm gonna use a darning needle to hide that in at the end of this, and I'm just gonna leave it out. So at this time then you look like you have the arching look at the top. You have your armholes, and it comes all the way down, and it goes all the way then to the waist. So this is the back panel here, and you can just shape it nicely if you want to. And now it's time to move on to the front panel. So the front panel, we've already got it done up until the armholes, and we're gonna carry on from this point here and then start and work on it from that perspective. So let's get our next panel and let's begin. So I'm now moving to the front panel. So I had it stop right where that dimension was. For me it was 15 inches, and now we're ready to move on to shaping the armholes, which is the same as what we did on the back panel. And then after we get that done, then we then shift into a different mode in order to do the front. Let's create a slip knot, and you have to skip a certain amount of stitches. In my case it's 4. So coming right up on the edge, just look at it here. So go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And go to the 5th. Okay, and I'm going right on top of a double crochet, just so you know. And I'm just gonna attach it with a slip stitch. And we need to maintain the pattern going all the way across. Now this is your second time going through if you've been following the tutorial, so you should know that it's probably gonna be more simpler for you. I'm just gonna rejoin one more time. I'm just not satisfied. I just lost a couple plies when I was doing so. So just again, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right there. You know, if you don't get things right the first time, it's no need to panic, just do your best. So chain up 1 because I'm going up on top of a double crochet and single crochet in, and I want to maintain the pattern. So what I want to do is maintain the pattern like I did before, and I want to stop 4 stitches short. So I want to come to the 5th stitch on the other side, and again this is for my size. You have to look at the pattern in order to know how many to go across. So repeat that all the way across, and then just stop when you have enough there. You can also count it across, but it's just easier to look. So I've come to the other side, and I have to leave 4 stitches unworked. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now I'm going to start then the next row. So the next row, just remember what we did before. We did a decrease. So let's turn our work, and we have to repeat this row a certain amount of times. In my size that I'm doing, I have to repeat it 3 more times after I've done this one. So we're gonna chain up 1 here, and we're gonna put the first 2 together. So just going in, pull through, and in, pull through, and then pull them together just like that. And then look at the next stitch. It's a double crochet, so the first one is then single on top, and maintain the pattern then going across. So single, double, single, double. And so when you get to the other side, what you have to do is put the last 2 together, and then you have to repeat this particular row a set number of times, and in my case I have to repeat it 3 more times. So let's see at the end of this row. So now that my work is turned, I only have 1 row to do this time. So chaining up 1, and we're gonna put the first 2 together like we'd already had on the back panel. So just a single crochet 2 together, and then just maintain the pattern as is. So the next one is a double, so this one's a single. So you're just gonna go across this row now, and this will be then the last time you decrease on this particular section, because what's gonna happen now is we're gonna jump in the pattern now and fast forward to the front side instructions, because if you continue down in the same sentences that are directly below in the pattern, you're gonna realize that you're doing the back panel. So just gotta look over to the right of the pattern, look for those double asterisks that says front, and then we're gonna start shaping this particular project. So just go across all the way. So at the very final end of this row, you're gonna put the final 2 together, and then just hang on for me, and I will show you what to do at that point. So when you get to the other side, you got to put the last 2 together as a single crochet and stop. So let's turn our work, and what we're going to do then is just move it along in the pattern. I'm gonna probably just show you where we are in the pattern here, and then we're just gonna move on, and I'll show you how to do it, because now we're just gonna start growing up one side only, leaving the other side, and we'll do that after. So right now in the pattern we just did this last row over here, and that's it. So in the back we continued the last that last row 3 more times, and then we continued along and did this. But right now there's a double asterisk, so now we go back over to here, and then we start shaping the neck. So what's gonna happen here is that we're gonna start across. We haven't fastened off, we're not going to, and then we're just gonna work the pattern a certain amount of stitches and keep going back and forth, and we're gonna work our way up the neck. Let me show that to you on the diagram. So let's begin to do the shaping of the neck, and we're gonna start off with the left side first, and what we're gonna do is we're going to create the shape that appears in the vest. So let me flip the page and show you exactly where you are. So right now we're actually right here at this point, and so now we're gonna continue, and we're gonna stop, and then we're gonna just start continuing to work up one side like this. Then when we get that done, we're gonna immediately start here and go this way and then finish this side. So I want to show the instructions here because I did a little cheat sheet for myself. I actually had to film this 3 times already because I was kind of getting lost within myself on where to do, so I created a little cheat sheet for myself. So all the instructions are right here, and we're gonna do some progressive decreasing and in order to get to the right shape. So let me show you my little cheat sheet that I made. Sometimes you gotta understand how you learn and how you adjust. So here's my little cheat sheet here, and what we're gonna be doing is that we're gonna be starting on right here, and we're gonna go all the way to a certain amount, and then we're gonna stop, and then we're gonna build up and then come back. So you're gonna notice in the first 3 rows here we're doing a decrease right in the end like so. So this is the armhole continuing to open up on the other side, and then it's gonna go straight up. The other side, on the other hand, every other row that we do, we're going to do a decrease. So whenever we do a decrease, the next row above it is going to just be one the same pattern going across. So I put dots in here because remember we are doing a pattern of single crochet, double crochet. I don't know what it is here, and you have to make that judgment call when you're doing it, and so I just did dots as representation of each one of the stitches so I can maintain my counts. So the goal is then once we go up and do this every other row, the goal is to get to number 11 here at the top. Once you get 11, you just go continuously straight up until you get to your inches high. In my case it has to be 8 inches in the armholes. So that's what we are looking for with this particular pattern. So what I'm gonna do, start off in the bottom, and so the other side of this diagram, if you were to actually flip it upside down, would be the other side of this. So let me see if you can actually see it through it. I have instructions that I've done myself on the other side. Let's see if you can see through. No. So this would be what it's like from the other side. So what I'm gonna do is that when I go to do the other side, I'm just gonna visualize that I'm starting here and going this way, and then just kind of read it backwards in order to get to the other side, or you can just take a diagram. So you can take a screenshot at this time if you'd like to have this for yourself, and then you can just print it out for yourself, and this here is the left side. So as we begin to do the first row and being able to shape it, so we've gone all the way straight across, and now we're only gonna go to about the middle part. Okay, it's pretty close to it, and then the other side's gonna pick up from that point and go to the other side. So what we need to do is that we're gonna use, in my particular size, 24 stitches. You will notice that it said 22 here because there's 2 together right at the front and right at the back. So without further ado, let's just start this here, and what I need to do is that I need to chain up 1 first, and then the first 2 are gonna be come together. So just put those 2 together with the single crochet 2 together, and now we have to maintain the pattern then for 20 stitches. Okay, so the next one here I see it's a double crochet underneath, so this one has to be a single. So I'm gonna count out in I'm gonna count it out as in here, so I'm not gonna say if it's single or double because then I'll get confused. So I already have 1 done, and this will be 2 and 3. See, my hands are automatically doing the work. This is 4, 5, this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So there's 20 stitches across. Now the next 2 are going to be come together, so that's going to be single crochet 2 together. So altogether then when I look at this for the chain count, there should be a total of 22. So the first 2 just became together as 1, so that's 1 plus 20 plus then these 2 just became 1, and that gives you then 22. So 1 plus 20 plus 1 equals 22. Let's move up to the next row. So right now this is the neck area, it's the middle of the project, and this is the armhole side. So if you're looking at my diagram, hopefully it makes sense. So the first time that we go up then, this is row number 2, we're gonna just chain up 1, and we are just going to match what is in there. Okay, so what we have to do here this time, because there's single crochet in the one below, this time you have to chain up 3. So you have to look at my diagram not from a technical point of view of those single crochets on the edge. You have to maintain that pattern. So the next one is going to be a single because it's a double right there. That's what gave me that indication. And I'm just gonna keep moving across, and then the very final two are gonna be two together because we're still creating that nice ridging for those armholes that are in the ends of the product. And so we just have one more row to do after this for that decrease on the armholes, and then we're gonna just head straight up on that side, and so it makes it quite easier to follow. So I'm not counting because I'm not, and I'm just looking for the final two. I'm confident in my stitch work that I've got the right counts. I am going to show you how to cheat the system in the event that your pattern or your panel is not the right width of stitches. I'm gonna show you how to cheat that if you have to as well. So then I'm coming right to the edge very shortly here, and I'm looking for my two together. Okay, so here is that. Okay, these two are together. Just reviewing how those are, and then that becomes that. So I'm gonna turn one more time, and when we start this row the first two are together once again, and this is the final time on the armhole that it's gonna be like that. So chain up one, and the first two are together. And then when I come all the way across, then because this is row number 3, the final one on this side are gonna be two together as well. So I'm looking for the stitch work underneath, so this one must be a single this time, and then double. So I think for this part of the pattern you really got to understand it in order to follow along. You got to learn how to cheat the system if you have to. There really is no need to do that anyway, but it's one of those items that sometimes you really got to just pay attention. It's not always easy to sit here and teach how to do every little thing. You have to use some of your mind power as well to make decisions that make sense for you because you may be doing something slightly different, or you may have a different point of view as well. Either way, it's good to go. So I'm just looking for the final two on this side, and I'm looking so two so these two are gonna be together, so I gotta go one more and put those two together. So what I need to do is here on row number 3 there should be a total of 19 stitches. So I'm gonna wanna be fussy in counting that out. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So if there wasn't 19, I'd be very concerned right now. So what I need you to do now for the remainder of that, and remember I showed you my sheet, is that we have to repeat the pattern of going up without any decreasing. So it's just chain up one and follow the pattern, and if it's a single crochet or double crochet in the next one you have to make that judgment call for the pattern. And then the next row up is that you're gonna always decrease in the neck. So just think about it from this perspective. Okay, so here's the edge like so. You're never gonna decrease on this side, and all it decreases is every other row, and it happens in the neck area. I'm gonna ask you to do the remainder on your own for this, and what you're gonna do is that you're gonna follow that to the repeat pattern that it tells you, and then once you have the repeat pattern then satisfied, you have to continue to go back and forth until you get to the height, and in my case it's 18. Let me show you back on the sheet one more time before I let you go. You can do this. So I'm back here on my cheat sheet. I just checked off the ones that I've done so far. So the next row I'm just gonna chain up one, and or it could be 3 depending on the pattern. In this case it depends on this next one that you have to worry about the pattern. So you just gotta follow it across and just go right to the end. And when you come back to the neck you're going to do the last two together. So the goal is to start to reduce stitches. So every 2 rows it's gonna get less and less, and your goal, if you're doing my size of the extra small, is to get to 11. It tells you that in the pattern and where you're looking for. So if you're doing a much bigger design, chances are this is gonna be a lot more tapered, and it's gonna take you more of a while, but of course it's bigger, so you have to compensate for that as well. So what I'm gonna do then is that I'm gonna satisfy this now until I get to the top of 11. I'm gonna take a measurement, see if it's 8 inches then from the armhole, and if it's not, I'm just going to continue to go back and forth regularly without any more decreases till I get to my 8 inches. My guess is I'm gonna get pretty close to the top without any issues at all. So I'll see you back here in just a moment. So here's what I got. I followed my chart. You can see I went flat up this side and I tapered in on this side to give the V-neck, and now it's time to fill in the other side of this. So what we need to do is that we need to start off in the middle and go this way. Never come from the outside when you're doing the second. If you start on this side, what's gonna happen is that the one row is gonna appear upside down, and instead of a seamless thing, because it looks like it's the same yarn that travels up, and if you do and start on this side, what's gonna happen is you're gonna see an imperfection line right here, and you will clearly see it. So even though the rest of it would look perfect, you'll have an unsightly line. I'm gonna show you how to cheat the system just in case your stitch counts are off here, and let me show you what to do. So if you remember my other chart, and let me just pull that up and show you here as I'm doing it here, and you remember my other chart, we had here a total of 22 stitches that across. Remember that the first two came together on both sides, so that it gives you a total of 24. So what we have to do is that we have to look for 24 stitches to be available on this side here in order to work. So it technically says skip one and then start over, but what happens if you're off? Meaning that maybe that's not the true center of it. And my first outtake, I had I think 3 or 4 outtakes on this thing, is that my one side appeared to be really far off and the other side was just right here, and I had a really unsightly thing. There's no way you can do it. So what you have to do here, in my stitch count should be right anyway, but if you're not, just what you have to do is look for 24 stitches. So coming from the outside, just count them. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 and 24. So 24 is where I'm gonna start, right here. So something happened in this particular project where it said to skip one stitch. Okay, so I've gone all the way over to here and I'm one off. Do you see that? You had to skip one and go to the second one over, but I'm one off. So instead of trusting in that and then having one that appears to be not going down the center, you're better off to count from the outside and go the other way. So what I want to do is that I want to just place a stitch marker here so that I know this is where I'm gonna start. So what I'm gonna do now is that I'm gonna look at my diagram once again and then show you what you need to do. So what I need to do, this is the diagram for this side. So technically this is backwards to the other side, but I'm not gonna redo a whole new chart for that because I don't need to. So what I have to do here is, you see that I have chains that are going up the side here. Do you see that? Well, they have to, because it's opposite, I need to make sure that I'm doing opposite this time around. So instead of starting over here and finishing off in the neck, I'm starting in the neck and going outward. So whenever I have to do it, so now I have to follow this chart this way instead of this way. Okay, so I'll go like this instead. So this just means that these chaining up here will not make sense for the second side, but you know what, I'm experienced crocheter and chances are you will be too. This is an intermediate pattern, or is it an easy one? I can't remember. It says it's easy. Okay, so you just have to watch this stuff. I don't even know why I'm laughing at that. It's kind of funny though, because this is kind of complicated even for me on take number 4. So I have to just go back and forth opposite to what I'm seeing here, but if you just follow it in the opposite direction, you're gonna be successful. So let's start you off anyway and let's get you going. So let's start you off right where I marked it and let's begin. So right where I have it marked is where I'm gonna start off with the slip stitch. Okay, and just grab my yarn, I just create a slip knot to begin, and I'm gonna pull that through and slip it to the yarn that is going to the ball. So I chained up one and now the first two become together. So just going into the first one, okay, then going into the next one and put those two together just like that. So now I'm looking at the pattern. The pattern underneath is a double, so this must mean it's single. So that's my pattern repeat, then going all the way to the other side. So but before I finish the other side, I want to make sure that the final two come together in the sense that they're gonna put two together at the other side. So in the first 3 rows, like we did before, is that the armhole is still growing to be a little bit bigger, and so we have to continue that on this other side in order to keep this in balance. So let me just work my way across. You see that I'm burying in my loose end as I go, therefore I'll never have to cut that out. It's just buried for life, and you won't even see it too because it's the same color. So it's continuing along, and my trick is to make sure that I'm counting stitches in this particular area of it. If any one pattern that you're gonna need to count stitches is directly in these vest up kind of sections like that. because if you're wrong by any stretch, you know, I used to do these socks when I was much younger crocheter, and I could never get two pairs of socks to be the same because I was refusing to count because I thought I was kind of perfect. You know how you are when you're 20. So you think that everything is going to work out, and then you get there and then realize you got two socks different size. Welcome to my life. So we're gonna just go right to the end, so the last two stitches will be two together as you do that. So what I need to do to verify that I've done that, let me just put these together, is that there should only be 22 stitches going across. So let's look. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 and 22. So I'm gonna turn my work. So the next row up is that we're gonna just continue following that pattern. So this is the armhole size, and if you looked at the pattern, you'll notice that the first two are together once again. So chaining up 1, and the first two are together like so. But on this one here, as you hit the neck area, is that it's going to not have a decrease on this side. So you're gonna follow the pattern as is. Remember, you're just reading the chart backwards. I know you can do it. That sheet really saved me on this one. I got really far in this tutorial, and just the words kind of hung me up a little bit. Not saying the pattern was misdesigned. It's sometimes hard to visualize some of these things. It's a garment, it's a piece of clothing. You cannot really go too wrong on it, or you can't really fake it too much before you end up having some serious trouble. So I'm gonna come all the way to the neckline, and so according to the instructions there will be 21 stitches left over, and I am going to verify that count before I continue. I actually counted all the way up last time I was doing the other one all the way to the top of the neck. Okay, so I'm coming right to the end, and there's only one stitch in there. Remember, 2 became 1, so there should technically only be 21 stitches, this one here. So I got 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 and 21. And now let's go and turn it one more time. This is the last time I'm going to show you. Okay, on the third row up we're going to decrease again. It's the last time you're going to decrease on the armhole side, and then the rest of it is going to taper up, and I'll show you that on the sheet as well. So this is row number 3. You're going to chain up and anyway, so you're going to chain up 1, put the first 2 together. Okay, and that's what it says to do in row number 3, and then you're following the pattern across. You know, I really thought I was gonna have trouble with just remembering to single double, but it's just coming so naturally. I'm scared actually next time I do a double crochet project I'm gonna do single double automatically, just because I've gotten used to doing that. So in row number 3 the armhole is gonna be come together. And it'll be the last time on the armhole that everything is going to decrease. So you're going to keep it all going straight up at this time for the remaining of the armhole. So according to my sheet then there should be 19 stitches left by the time I'm done. So the armhole, there should be 2 together, so the last 2 stitches, 1 and 2. Just looking for that. So this is 1 and this is 2, so these 2 are together. So this time around there should only be 19. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18. And you know what, I think I'm off one. So this is why you're counting. Sometimes it's visually hard to see, so I gotta go one more, and then there you go, got it. So don't be afraid to count. We all can screw up at that point. So we're gonna turn our work, and I'm gonna bring back the diagram, and I'm gonna show you what to do next. So now I'm gonna finish the other side that goes up. So on the armhole side it's gonna go straight up now, and this side is gonna taper out and open to the V-neck, and we have just completed number 3. So now every other row is going to do a decrease when you do this row. So anytime you are working on this, you have to do your decreases in order to make this work. So when we did this now is that when we're on number 3, so when we're gonna come across, remember everything we're doing is opposite, so I just put 2 together. So number 4 is going to go across, and it's just gonna be 1 into each, just following the pattern. And then when you come back into the neck area, you want to do that. But the problem here is that because it's opposite, you're actually going to be starting off in the neck area. So you got to just watch where you're going. Sometimes you might have to do a decrease when you start the row, and just watch for that, and then you're just gonna continue to maintain the pattern, then going straight up. This is one of those things you got to know how to read patterns for this one. Hopefully this will help you, and I know people are gonna leave comments right now saying I'm really confused. Just got to remember that it is opposite. So these here are on the opposite side, so when you go to start this side here, you may have to put the 2 together and then go across instead of doing it at the end. That's kind of what I'm saying. So I'm gonna leave the rest for you to go straight up then on the one side, taper in on the other, and then I'll meet you in at the top, and you're gonna go for the amount of stitches. For myself, when I got to the 11 on this round here, number 15, I was actually at my 8-inch mark, so I stopped there. So as soon as I got to 11 stitches across, to keep it in balance to the pattern, it satisfied that it was 8 inches as per the dimensions that I needed, and that's what worked for me. So continue to do that the rest on your own, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. I have just a quick tip for you. If you look at this, if you fold your project in half, just at the halfway point, and you can follow it up, you can tell if you're going wrong is if they don't match each other. Okay, so they're matching, are pretty close at this point. Well, they are close because they're the same. So if something is going really weird and you're coming up like this and it's coming off really weird, you know something is wrong. So don't be afraid to test it like that in order to find balance within this project. So now I'm finished doing the tops here. So I have my beautiful V-neck in here, and you see how I improvised by 1 stitch. It really doesn't make a difference. You can fold it in half, it still stays equal, and now the front panel is now officially complete. So now what we're gonna do now is that we're going to just refer back to the instructions. We now have the front and the back done, and so if I place this down now, and let's just do that here really quickly on camera. So if I place the back panel down in, and then I place the other one over top like so, this is what it will look like so far. So I still have to sew in the sides and etc., and just have everything completely match up, but you can see you have the back end that's filled in here, and it's just a matter of putting things together. Let's go back to the instructions and see what's next. So now what we have to do is that we have to shape the top of these. So let's do the first one first. So the first one says, and what we need to do is that we need to get the middle one here. This is where the neck is. We need to build it up a little bit taller here, and on the other side that we need to build up right in the here and then leave the other side. You remember how what we did in the back is that we kind of built it up like in sections. Do you see like it's stepping? We need to do the same thing, but only one step here in here. So what we have to do, let's start off with the first one here, and we need to see this is where I finished off. So this is, I know that I need to go this way. The other side, same thing, so I need to go this way. And if you go the other way, for example, it's gonna appear backwards and upside down. So what we have to do is that we have to fasten on some new yarn, and let's get our stitch work ready, and let's get our hook. And what I need you to do is that I need you to skip over to the 6th stitch, or skip 6 stitches, go to the 7th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This is a single crochet, I can see that, so I'm gonna attach it, and I'm gonna chain up 3. So you're gonna maintain the pattern as is. So chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3. Just let this straggler just fall on top, and then you're gonna bury it, and you're just gonna go across the rest of it all the way to the neckline with just following the pattern. So single, double, single, double. That's it. You get that? So just coming out, and then the very end in this case will be a double because I'm following the pattern as is, just like that. Okay, so now I have a little mini step up here, and this will make a difference in the end, so you just got to trust in it. And now I'm gonna fasten that off, and before I go too far, I'm just gonna lock it in a position. I'm gonna use a darning needle to hide that in. I'm gonna come to the other side. So the other side, the neck has to be bigger here, so where it's coming up the neck. So what we have to do is that we have to then start on that side just like that. Okay, and so what I would recommend is that you can either count the stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 is what I did on this side here. So if you can just start on the edge corner here and just follow it as is. So the first one is going to be a single crochet in. I can see that. So just join it with the slip stitch, chain 1 single into the first, and then I'm just gonna maintain the pattern for just 7 stitches. So that's 1 of 7. So this will be a double crochet for 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, like that. Okay, so now you have like the matching on both sides for these kind of items like that. So you just gotta make sure that you match everything in order to keep it consistent. So now I'm just gonna fasten off, and I'm gonna use a darning needle to hide those ends in better. So that's what we have for there. So let's move along in this pattern and see what else we have to do next. So what I'm gonna have you do now is that I'm gonna have you sew your sides together. Make sure the right sides are facing inward so that your sewing appears on the inside of this, so when you're wearing it you don't see any sewing. When we go to do the neckline, for example, what we're gonna do is turn this outside right, and then we're gonna be doing it from that perspective so it doesn't appear upside down. So I want you to sew along the sides here. I want you to sew along the top here. Okay, do both sides just like that, and then do the other side. Do not sew obviously in the armholes at all. So, and you don't have to sew along the bottom, of course. So use a whip stitching technique in order to do it. And now your sides should be completely identical to each other. So just grabbing a spare piece of yarn that you have, matches the same color, and what you want to do is do a whip stitch. So let me quickly show you how to do that. I like to use a slip knot on the edge of my whip stitch strand, and I'm gonna grab a piece of yarn here and my darning needle, just feed it through. So all I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna start off in the bottom. I can start up here if I wanted to, it wouldn't really matter, but what I want to do is that I want to take the outsides. I marked what side was the right side when I was doing this project here, so I know which is the right side, and I want to just push it through both, and I want to match exactly what I have. So I'm gonna put the needle through the loophole and pull everything nice and tight. Okay, and now all I'm just gonna do is just work my way up the side of this outfit, taking my time, but don't over pull. You just want it nice and snug without distorting any of the edging. So I'm gonna do this for all of the sides that we have for this that I need to do, and then I'll meet you back here and we're gonna continue along in making this project. So now everything is sewn together. I'm still looking at the inside of this, so when I go to flip it the other way so it's outside right, then I will do the neck. So you have to turn it so that you're actually looking like you're gonna wear it and then crochet around it, because it just makes sense. So what I need you to do, I'm gonna go out of order in the pattern now, and I have actually sewn all my seams together, and I am going to put on my armbands. Now these were chaining of 6, and then second chain from the hook, just single crochet, and then all the rest of the rows are just, there's only 5 stitches back and forth in the back loop only. It's exactly the way that you did this. Okay, so it's exactly way. So I did mine 16 inches. It doesn't tell you how far to go, because what you have to do is you have to make it work. So what I did is I did 16 inches, and I left a little yarn ball for myself just in case I want to go in. So what I'm gonna do, I'm looking at the inside of this project. I'm going to sew here, and I want to make sure that I don't create any extra pulling on it. So I left on extra here just in case I have to do more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start sewing this and making it look good, and then I'm gonna flip it over and do the other side, and if I have to then crochet a bit of extra, then I will, and if it's too long at that point, then I can just pull out some. So I haven't actually finished this off, so I can adjust. So what I want to do, use your whip stitching skills and just whip stitch it now to the outside of here, and then along here, along the base here, you're gonna sew it together, and then that'll create the look of it going seamlessly all the way around. So I have my armbands on now. I'm looking at the good side. So if I was wearing it, this is what I'm looking at, and I'm gonna start here. Remember how I improvised right here? I was off by 1 stitch. I want to be very conscious of that when I'm going to look at it here. So you're gonna see here when I go to look at it, you want to get the middle one of this section here. Okay, and I'm going to mark it with this a stitch marker so I know where it is when I come to that particular point. So it says in the instructions to work 22 stitches in my particular size down the edge here to the middle, and then up here 22. Now you might have different stitches depending on what size, and then you're just gonna work along the back. So you just have to, there's no stitch work really to go into the outside here. You have to make it work. So you have to start up in the right, or up in the corner here. So let's just start here and let's just see how we're gonna do this. And so we're gonna go down. So go right where the seam is, okay, and just insert in. There's no stitches here, so you have to make it work. And you're just gonna single crochet. So let's just join it, chain 1 in 1 single crochet into that same spot. So that's 1 out of 22. So let's just start just kind of eyeing it up and going down this side. So you're gonna go 2 and 3. I haven't done this before, so I'm gonna just put faith in it. This is 4, that's 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So let's see where I am here. So I've got 10 in already, and I still have to go all this way for another 12 stitches. I can only go 22, so that looks about right so far. So I'm gonna keep on going. So I'm just gonna go, so 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and I still have a few more to go. So that was 17, and then 18 is in the next one, 19 and 20, 21. I don't want to put 2 stitches in there, 21 and 22. So there's 22 going down. Okay, so it looks pretty good so far. So now that's the center point. I'm gonna skip over that center point and come on to the other side, and I'm gonna work my way up. So that one happens to be in a stitch, so let's count 22 up to the next seam line up here. So I've already got 1 in there so far. So I'm gonna go 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. I'm about halfway up. That's 10 and 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, this is 16, 17, this is 18, 19, 20, and here's the seam line here, 21, and at the seam line 22. So there you go. So there's 22 down and 22 back up. Now the back seam, all we're just gonna go is just along the back, just continue to go 1 single crochet into each one of the stitches across in the back. You'll be able to see that. So I'm not gonna count those at this point. And so this is basically the foundation to get this next started, and then the rest of it's really quite easy as we do it, and I'll get you onto that in just a moment. There's not too many rounds to do, because if you do too many rounds you're gonna seal off the neck, and then it'd be pointless for you to even wear this. Okay, and then I get back around, and then I'm just gonna continue, and I'm just gonna get it close enough that I can get to that starting point, and I'm gonna slip stitch it to the first single crochet. So let's now go up and let's do another round. So let's move our stitch marker once again. So we have 4 rounds to do of the following I'm about to show you. I'm only gonna show it to you one time. So what you're gonna do is locate the center one of here, and you're going to move your stitch marker to match. Okay, so there is the center right there, and when you get down there you're going to put 3 stitches together, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. And then the rest of it here you're just going to put 1 single crochet into each. So to start off you're going to chain up 1 and 1 single crochet into each, going all the way down to those stitch marker, and in the stitch marker you're gonna put 3 together, so the stitch marker is the middle one of the 3, and then you're just gonna single crochet around and to the back just like you have. So because you're not adding anything to the top of this, meaning over here or down the sides of the lapel area, you're not actually going to be increasing stitches, so therefore you'll speed up. So let's get down close to that center point. So the only way to do this is because I was thinking to myself, how is it gonna do that in order to keep that point nice and pointy at the base, and it's all done in 3 together. So let's show you how to do that. So I got 3 stitches that need to come together. So I got the next one, the one with the stitch marker, and then the next one, put those together. So you're gonna go in the first one, okay, making sure everything's nice and tight. So go into the first one, pull through, go into the next one with the stitch marker, pull through, and go into the one after the stitch marker and pull through, and then pull through all 4 loops, and 3 just became 1. So you're just gonna single crochet yourself back up and around. You're gonna stop and join it with a slip stitch, and then you're gonna chain up 1 and come back down. But every time you come back down here you have to move the stitch marker. So I can do that right now. Okay, so I just have to remove that, and next time I'm about to start I just mark the middle. So please do after this round please do 3 more rounds of that, and then we'll come back and just finally review the end of this video. So that's it for today. So today you learned how to do the ribbing for the base. You then learned how to do a panel, both the front and the back, and the front had that special just so that you could get around the neck. You then learned how to sew things together with the whip stitch. You learned how to do the yarn bands, and that was the ribbing, the same concept as the base here. And then you learned how to create the V-neck here with what you have. So I taught you how to improvise a little bit just in case your stitches are off, and both of the sides look absolutely amazing. I'm actually pretty proud of myself. This is the very first time I've ever done adult clothing like this, and I'm actually pretty excited. I'm actually pretty motivated to maybe even move on to a sweater even for myself. So this is a men's size sweater. This is extra small, and this is it for today. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. Have a great day, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.